Help me reach 1,000 subscribes. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read every comment. Thanks. James never planned to tell Elizabeth the truth that night. It started with a small work celebration at a downtown bar, the kind with dim lights and music low enough to talk over. A few drinks turned into several. Laughter got looser, and the careful walls James had built over years of restraint began to soften. He was 42, steady, reliable, the man people leaned on. He had learned long ago that feelings were best kept managed, measured, contained. Elizabeth sat across from him, glass in hand, eyes warmer than usual. They had known each other for years, close enough to share stories, distant enough to avoid dangerous territory. She was sharp, observant, the kind of woman who noticed when someone went quiet. James noticed everything about her and pretended he didn't. That pretense had kept his life predictable. As the night stretched on, the conversation drifted from harmless memories to deeper confessions. Elizabeth spoke about exhaustion, about carrying everyone else's expectations. James listened, nodding, feeling something old and heavy shift in his chest. The alcohol didn't create the feeling. It only removed the lock. He heard himself speak before he fully decided to. He admitted how lonely it felt to always be the strong one, how being dependable slowly turned invisible. Elizabeth didn't interrupt. She didn't joke it away. She just listened, her attention steady, almost intense. That attention felt dangerous. James hesitated, then crossed a line he had avoided for years. He told her that some nights he wondered what his life would look like if he had chosen differently, if he had said things sooner, if he had been honest with the wrong person at the wrong time. His voice stayed calm, but his hands betrayed him, fingers tight around the glass. Elizabeth leaned back slightly, studying him. The bar noise faded into something distant. James felt exposed in a way he wasn't prepared for. He tried to soften it, to laugh it off, but the words were already out. Once spoken, they refused to return. There was a pause long enough to make him uncomfortable, long enough to sober him a little. He considered apologizing, blaming the drinks, resetting everything. But Elizabeth finally spoke, and her tone was measured, careful. She said she had always sensed it, that some truths don't disappear just because they go unspoken. James felt relief and fear collide. He didn't clarify. He didn't ask questions. He simply nodded, letting the moment exist without control. They paid the bill and stepped outside into the cool night air. The city hummed around them, indifferent. James expected the moment to dissolve once they left the bar, but it followed him like a shadow. Elizabeth stood beside him, closer than usual, her presence heavy with things unsaid. If this moment already feels familiar, tap so this story can reach others who've lived it too. They walked in silence toward the parking lot. James replayed every sentence in his head, wondering which one he would regret most in the morning. He told himself that honesty, even accidental, was better than another year of quiet dissatisfaction. Elizabeth stopped near her car and turned to face him. The streetlight caught her expression, thoughtful, guarded. She thanked him for trusting her. The word trusting landed harder than expected. Trust implied responsibility. James smiled, unsure what else to do. He expected closure, or at least reassurance. Instead, Elizabeth asked a simple question that unsettled him more than any confession had. She asked what he wanted to happen next. He didn't answer right away. Wanting something meant choosing it, and choice carried consequences. James had built his life on avoiding unnecessary consequences. He told her he didn't know. It was the most honest answer he had left. Elizabeth nodded, as if she had expected that. She said sometimes truth arrives before readiness. Then she opened her car door, paused, and looked back at him with an expression he couldn't read. What do you think James should have said in that moment? Share your thoughts in the comments. She told him to get home safe. Her voice was neutral, but something in her eyes lingered. James watched her drive away, feeling. James didn't sleep much that night. The alcohol wore off, but the conversation stayed sharp and awake inside his head. Morning light found him sitting at the kitchen table, coffee untouched, replaying Elizabeth's question, "What do you want to happen next?" It wasn't flirtation. It wasn't rejection. It was something worse. It was possibility. The following days passed with forced normalcy. James went to work, answered emails, handled problems. Outwardly, nothing changed. Internally, everything felt misaligned. He realized how carefully he had arranged his life to avoid moments like that night. Predictability had been his shield. Honesty had cracked it. Elizabeth didn't text. He told himself that meant the moment had passed. That silence was resolution. Yet every time his phone buzzed, his chest tightened. He wasn't chasing her. He was waiting for clarity. 3 days later, she asked if they could talk. Not drinks, not casual, just talk. They met at a quiet cafe in the afternoon, neutral ground. Elizabeth looked composed, professional, almost distant. James felt relief and disappointment at the same time. She didn't waste time. She said she had thought about what he shared. She appreciated the honesty, but she needed to be clear. She wasn't interested in being someone's emotional escape. She had watched too many people destroy their lives by mistaking vulnerability for direction. James listened without interruption. There was no defensiveness in him, only understanding. He told her he wasn't asking for anything, that the confession wasn't a strategy. It was a slip of truth. Elizabeth nodded. She said that was exactly why it mattered. She admitted she had feelings too once, but timing had drained them into something quieter. Respect, familiarity, care. Not desire. Not anymore. The words stung, but they also settled something inside him. For the first time in years, James felt the relief of alignment. Painful honesty beat prolonged ambiguity. If you've ever been stuck between what you feel and what's right, type the word clarity in the comments. They talked for another hour, not about what could have been, but about what was. Elizabeth encouraged him to stop living on emotional autopilot. She said people don't regret losing the wrong relationship. They regret staying invisible in the right one. James walked away from the cafe lighter, not because he gained something, but because he let something go. That night at the bar was a mistake. It was a signal. Weeks passed. James made small changes. He stopped numbing his evenings with distractions. He reconnected with friends he had sidelined. He started asking himself harder questions. Loneliness didn't disappear overnight, but it no longer felt like a verdict. One evening, he reread an old journal entry from years back. It mentioned wanting more, meaning more, being seen. He finally understood that no one else had failed him. He had failed himself by staying silent too long. If this story resonates, consider sharing it with someone who might need a reminder that honesty isn't betrayal, it's direction. Months later, James ran into Elizabeth by chance. The warmth was still there, but the tension was gone. They smiled, exchanged updates, and parted without unfinished sentences. It felt clean. James realized that the reply that changed everything was a rejection or encouragement. It was respect. She had met his honesty with her own. That exchange redirected his life more than any dramatic confession ever could. He didn't regret speaking that night. He regretted waiting so long to listen to himself. What do you think matters more, timing or truth? Join the discussion in the comments. James's life didn't transform overnight, but it moved forward with intention. And that, he learned, was the real difference between surviving and living. If you appreciated this story, like the video, share your thoughts below, and subscribe for more stories that explore honesty, boundaries, and the moments that quietly change everything. In quieter moments, James understood that courage wasn't loud. It didn't arrive with grand gestures or reckless choices. It appeared in small, uncomfortable decisions made without applause. Choosing self-respect over comfort. Choosing truth over fantasy. Those choices didn't end the ache immediately, but they ensured it had an end, and that realization stayed with him long after.